Welcome to this week's episode of Witchy Shit and Manga Lit. This week we're talking concerts, charms, and smut with one of Carta's nearest and dearest, Erica. Let's get into it. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Witchy Shit and Manga Lit. Almost forgot who the hell we were for a second. And this week we're being joined by Erica, who has a background in mental health therapy, is a mother and jack of all trades, loves trashy novels, the smuttier the better. Thank you for joining us this week, Erica.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And Carta, tell us what's on the menu for today, because it is delicious.
Yeah, so for today, what we're going to do is we're going to do our normal spiel of what we're watching, listening to, etc. Then we are going to talk about concerts because we had kind of an interesting experience at a concert that we went to recently. And I kind of wanted to talk about how those worked. And then we're going to talk about charms and physical magic. And then we're going to talk about smut and why are we like this? And I thought it would be fun to do that with Erica on because since she's a mental health professional, she can tell us how we're fucked up in the head.
Or
I'm
extremely
joking, but like
healthy.
I'm not. So let's go ahead and get started with what are you watching and listening to? Let's start with Erica. What are you watching and listening to right now?
Okay. So watching we so typically I don't have like a new show that I'm watching, but we have a tendency to watch like early 2000s sitcoms over and over because it's so relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
You have comfort shows.
So yes, oh my gosh, just the same jokes, the same characters. It's great. So we've been doing New Girl recently and Community, and
I
every once
love
in a while,
Community.
it's so wonderful. I love that show. And the League is another one, which is just man, you have to really be in a mood for that one. um, so yeah, so that's what I'm watching lately and reading. I am on the second book of Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. And she also wrote the A Court of Thorns and Roses series and what is the Throne of Glass series, and that's one I haven't gotten into. But Crescent City, once I got past the first, I don't know, 7 hours of the audiobook, I got into it. So
Wow, you really slogged that out for 7 hours.
man, yeah, it was just something I had on. I do audiobooks like while I'm doing chores a lot of the time, and so
Oh, yeah.
just put it on and slog through like washing dishes and yard work and the first several hours of that book before I really got into it. So it's been worth it. It's very interesting, like urban fantasy. That's not a genre I'm very familiar with.
Oh, I love
It's
urban
fun.
fantasy.
Does
You're
it
what?
take place?
I always said
Does
I
it
love
take
urban
place in New
fantasy.
Orleans?
Oh, that's
No, it is.
Ah,
Um, it's a fantasy city with a mythological name.
so is that more
But it's
modern
very
fantasy
American.
than urban fantasy? Or
It is. I mean, it could take place in like New York or Chicago. That's where it could take place, but it has a different
okay,
name and a different
cool.
history. And the
I
year is
was
like fifteen
asking.
thousand something.
Ah, I was asking because New Orleans is called the Crescent City. So I was like, oh wow, is
Oh.
this an urban fantasy taking place in New Orleans? Holy shit, I gotta read that.
That would be yeah, I mean, it is yeah, it's supposed to be hot there, but I think it's more I kind of feel like more of like an Arizona climate than but I don't know
Hmm.
what season it's supposed to be either. So, I don't know, I've been reading this book well, these 2 books
it's
for like
too vague to tell, apparently.
It's a dry heat.
God.
Yeah, yeah, it's delightful. I don't get any references to New Orleans specifically, but there are witches and I mean,
I
there's
don't
no,
know, that
like,
sounds like a
new
reference to New Orleans if
references.
you
I
ask me.
know, I know, right?
Like, all
It
the
could
books that
be.
have witches take place there.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of Anne Rice, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We could do a whole series, a whole
on
show on Anne
on
Rice and how
just Anne Rice.
Mhm.
amazing and problematic she
And
is.
Mhm. Mhm.
oh god, that one
Absolutely.
witch book, I swear to fuck.
The one with the incest.
The one with the incest. Well, one of the
Yeah.
ones with the
One
incest.
of,
We're talking about
one
Anne
of the
Rice here.
ones. There's so
Mhm.
many.
Mhm.
There's so many.
You
Oh
know,
my god, that
I feel like if she just had a content warning at the beginning,
yeah.
that would have been a
Hmm.
lot quite helpful to my,
No,
teenage self who picked up those books at like what 13.
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
We all did. We all did at
Yeah.
We
like
all did, yeah.
pivotal ages.
Hmm. Like
and
15. Like what?
and here I am at 40 still trying to recover. I checked my watch to
Hmm.
see how old I was. I don't I'm not sure why that just happened.
I saw a comment on a comic the other day because it was a comic about it's called like Harley Takes the House or something on Tapas, and I haven't read it, but on the very first episode, someone made a comment saying the brothers are the male leads, and because like she gets adopted into this family, and someone's like the brothers are the male leads, and I'm just like thank you for telling me that, but like the comment section has thousands of comments, and one of them like made me giggle because someone called it incest light because they're not
Oh Lord.
blood related. That just reminded me of brothers conflicts. I'm like, it's diet
Oh my
incest. It's
God.
fine. It's not real incest.
Oh my
I
god.
enjoyed Brothers Conflict so much. I have to be completely honest. Like this house full of what was it, like 13?
It's 13. Like, what gets me though is again the game. It's all of them, even the child, and I'm like, no.
And the squirrel. And the
And the
squirrel. Let's not forget.
squirrel male lead.
Let's not forget the fucking squirrel.
And like the lawyer who's like 40 and she's 15. It's very problematic. But yeah,
So
no, diet
problematic.
incest. It's 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 got stevia.
That and citrus, my
And
favorite. I could just drink citrus all day.
uh, so Rawia, what about you? What have you been listening to, watching, reading?
I have been back to reading The Future is Disabled, because I'm part of a disability justice team for Queer Cat Theater Productions. So I've been reading that because we're also having a meeting with India Harville, who's like, I am plugging her. She is fucking amazing disability justice person. So doing that, but for funsies, I started watching Demon Slayer over again. That's been great. That's been a lot of fun. I'm watching it though with a new lens because you were like, Tanjiro's so fucking dramatic, and you are correct. Tanjiro is so dramatic. So I'm watching it now, and I could giggle about it
Yeah.
because of his drama and
But the thing
noticing
is
how.
like we watched the train one together, right?
Mhm.
How did you feel about that when you were watching it?
Well, after you made that comment that Tanjiro is dramatic, it took the anxiety away from it. Like if I had just been watching it like by myself, I would have been like, this is too anxiety provoking. I'm gonna need to take marijuana after this. Like I'm gonna have to plan something. I'm gonna have to do something because I cannot with this fucking show. So yeah, you helped me with that. I love. We're gonna get into it later. We're gonna talk
Yeah,
about the
we'll
bad
talk about
hentai
it.
in it. Uh,
Oh my god, I
just
forgot
horrible.
the
Yeah,
hamburger tentacles.
yeah. It was way too like it was way too moist. We're gonna talk about that later. So Demon Slayer has been a thing. And the other thing I have been watching has been, oh, with a note on Demon Slayer, I was watching the training sequence again.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
When your boy is, I forget his name, Oruko. It starts with a
Which
U.
one?
The one with the mask. The one with the
Inosuke. It's Inosuke.
no, not Inosuke, not Inosuke. Not the pretty boy. Not the
Oh,
himbo. The one
the
who
sword
trains.
guy.
Yeah.
It's like Uzumai something. It has a
It's
Z and
Urukoi. Someone's gonna read this and be like, someone's gonna watch this and be like,
be like
bitch, get it
these.
right. Put respect on his name.
How dare
But
you?
how dare. But I'm like watching it and he's getting flipped all over the place. He's getting his solar plexus slapped. He's made to train under a waterfall, all this shit. And I'm watching it, I'm like, this is my editor.
Oh shit.
This is this is my editor. Like, here, go cut this
Oh,
boulder in half with
him.
this sword. Yeah, him.
I'm gonna
So,
look him up while you're talking.
so yeah, I've been feeling that a lot. I've been like writing my own book a lot and reading through my own edits, which has been brutal. And the last thing I have been involved with is still finishing up Doctor Who with Jodie Whittaker. I'm finally on season 3 of her arc. And I am completely loving it still because I love her portrayal as a doctor. And yeah, that's about it. Just not that much media because I'm working on editing and getting full bodied by my editor. So I'm like read, 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 and then get like, you don't understand me. And then go like, but what you're saying is better than what I was proposing, so I'll work on that. Yeah. So I'm just spending my days getting my ass handed to me. So by time,
Oh,
yeah, it's good though. It's
and
good. I'm becoming a better writer.
it's Urokodaki.
Urokodaki, yes.
Yeah. That's
Urokodaki,
the mentor. I thought you
Urokodaki-san.
because like there's so many dudes in masks in that show, so I was confused. I thought you meant the swordsmith
You're
guy.
correct.
He's
No, not the
different,
swordsmith
but
guy.
he's the
He is.
mentor. The mentor guy is
Mm-hmm.
cool. I like him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my editor. That's who my editor is. That's the energy. So
Honestly, though, that's a very like nurturing energy.
it
So
is. I love my editor.
it's like I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know, and then I'm gonna kick your ass and leave you alone in the
Yeah,
woods by
yeah.
yourself
By yourself. By yourself.
with all
Make
these
it down the
traps.
hill.
And
Make it down the hill.
Wait, did you
he
say
wasn't.
that's a nurturing energy?
Yeah, it is. It's a different kind of nurturing. I didn't say it was motherly. I said it was nurturing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is. I feel like it was nurturing. I feel like it's been a nurturing process. So yeah, what about you, Carta?
um, yeah, so I have a list. On Sunday after like doing stuff, I told myself, I was like, I have a long weekend. I am going to binge watch this one show that I had seen this guy on Instagram talk about a lot. He's like, it's like a gritty, realistic BL and it's really good. You know, you're gonna really like it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I like that kind of thing. That's gonna be my jam. That's cool. It's called Banana Fish, which it sounds funny. Like it sounds like it's going to be cute and sweet, and it is the exact opposite of what that is. Because the name itself is the name of a drug in the show, and the show takes place in 80s New York. So you've got mafia, gangs, cops, like all of these elements in the mix. And the show centers around this drug that basically makes people go crazy, kill other people, and then go catatonic. And the main character, Ash, is basically a 17-year-old boy who's like a gang leader in New York. And um, they also have the other character, the other main character, Eiji, is he's like visiting from Japan with his like mentor. They're like journalists, so they're trying to like learn more about the culture, whatever. And the cops are like, "Hey, you should hang out with this Ash kid because he's like a decent sort, and he's going to make sure you won't get hurt while you're like researching all this stuff." Um, but side note to that, it reminded me that I have been notating like in my brain in anime when they have black people because too many don't. And it just reminded me of how great Cowboy Bebop is because Cowboy, you're muted, hun. Actually, you're both muted. Why are you muted?
I was just singing
Mean.
Cowboy Bebop. That's what happened. That's what
um,
happened. And my ex just texted me, so I'm muted to sort
uh,
out my feelings.
understood. Understood. Um, So, but like that just reminded me that that one got a gold star because of every single reason. Cowboy Bebop is the gold standard as far as I'm concerned for pretty much every element, like animation,
Hmm.
storytelling, music, characters.
Such good music.
God, I love that show. Anyway, we are Cowboy Bebop stands in this household.
Yes, we
that,
are. Yes, we
that
are.
is how we roll. So, basically, side note in that because this show takes the Banana Fish takes place in New York, there's a diverse cast, which is kind of cool. And Ash, while he's like a blonde kid, the other character that he sees as like a little brother is this little black boy named Skip, and Skip is like from episode 1 my favorite character because he's that adorable. um
Hmm.
so like they meet each other and they're like hanging out at the bar that Ash's gang like runs, and Skip is just like befriending AG. And then the bar gets attacked because the mob is trying to get back the sample of banana fish that Ash basically stole from someone they were trying to kill. And he stole it so that he could get a lab to look at it because his brother is catatonic from the drug. So like there's that kind of drug throughway. And Skip gets AG out of the bar by like escaping, but they end up getting kidnapped. And you're like, oh no, they got kidnapped. What's going to happen? So episode 2 comes along, and the first half of the episode, they like manage to kind of get away, but they end up in a dead end. And AG's like, hey, I can pole vault, and ends up like using a metal bar to pole vault over this wall. And it looks like he's flying. Okay, the animation in this show goes entirely too hard because it's Mappa again.
Hmm.
So just putting that out there. But then the second half of the episode happened, and I don't know if I can finish the show because, like, I expected it to be a little bit gritty, a little bit like, oh, look at all of these things that are happening. But spoilers, just as an FYI, the rest of this is going to be spoilers for this show, even though it's episode 2. So, does it really count as spoilers if all this shit happens the second episode? I feel kind of like no. But like, so after AG escapes and goes to the cops and is like, hey, you guys need to help them. They're like still trapped, and the mafia guy is coming back and he's going to get them. Um, the mafia guy comes back and basically threatens Ash and then murders Skip in front of Ash. And
No,
I'm like,
wait.
holy shit, that's a
Ugh.
7-year-old. Yeah, yeah. So
Does it
super.
count to have a black character if your black character is murdered in a second episode?
I feel like they're going to have more in the future, but like also he's a child. And so like I'm already in shock from that. Ash obviously super upset because his little bro just got murdered in front of him, races after Mafia Guy, ends up at Mafia Guy's apartment, and Mafia Guy is dead because the mob already killed him in order to frame Ash. And the cops show up and they're like, Ash, you're going to jail because you killed this guy. But they had to do more. So they end up taking Ash to the precinct and showing him a video that the mob guy had because Ash was abused and was part of child pornography when he was younger. And I'm sitting here going,
What? The
what
show needs a
the
trigger warning.
fuck? It does. It does. So, for everyone, if you wanted to watch this show, prepare your fucking self because I wasn't, and it literally traumatized me. So the cop's been bought off by the mob, the judge was bought off by the mob, and they're sending this 17-year-old who was abused to adult jail so that he can be murdered by adults. And episode 3 is going
Oh
to
yeah,
be
that's actually common.
jail. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it. I like
You're right,
part
Erica. That is common.
I mean, not
yeah.
necessarily to be murdered by adults, but yeah, 17-year-olds will. They have like automatic transfers from juvenile to adult
Ugh.
jails. So like
Mm-hmm.
even if you have a case in juvenile, the second you turn 18, you go straight to the adult prison. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and like the way they charge kids. I worked in juvenile justice for a brief time, about 6 months, and then the program I was working with kind of fell apart, so I moved elsewhere. But I really liked it while I was there. But yeah, it is pretty heartbreaking to see like what these kids go through, how our court system treats them. It's
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
um, yeah, it can be pretty messed up.
Yeah. So needless to say, I was completely unprepared for any of that. And it was um it, a lot. It was a lot. So I couldn't uh while I want to see what happens with the characters, because again, the first episode really hooked me on the characters. Like it's well animated, it's well written, but they went too hard episode 2. So if that is something you don't want to see because it's disturbing, maybe skip that one. That may not be the show for you. Um, the rest of the shows I watched this week were light and fun though. So I I, I balanced myself out from that. I wanted to tell people because because I went in completely unprepared, because the people I heard about the show from did not prepare me at all. Um like I wanted to bring that up. Uh the other two shows I watched besides Demon Slayer were Kuba Won't Let Me Be Invisible. I saw
Mm-hmm.
about 4 episodes of that. It was very cute and light. It's a romance where this guy just has zero presence and does not show up. Like people forget he's in class all the time, even when he's standing right there. They like
Mm-hmm.
won't see him in the park with
Oh
his little
no.
brother. They're like, "Your little brother's by himself?" And he's like, "No, I'm right here."
Oh my God.
Please don't forget me.
Cellophane, Mr.
Yeah,
Cellophane.
basically. And the one person who can see him is everybody in the Kubo family. So like her sisters can all see him regardless of what he's doing. So he finds a way to basically exist through always being seen. But it's also kind of uncomfortable for him because he's used to people not seeing him ever. So like he's
Mm-hmm.
gotten into habits of just like doing stuff by himself. And then all of a sudden there's someone who can see him doing all this embarrassing shit by himself. Because she can see him. It's adorable. I highly recommend that one. And then the second one I started was Bungo Stray Dogs, which is
Mm-hmm.
a weird show, but like in a fun, exciting way. Okay, so one of the characters, Dazai, is the reason why I wanted to watch this show, and I know I sent you this clip. They had like a little live stage play of the manga,
Yes.
and Dazai was the one telling him to write stuff down and like shuffling off screen
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. And I'm like, I have to see this. I need to know who this psychotic person is. So Dazai has this quirk where he's suicidal all the time. And
That's a
there's this
quirk.
no, but like it's in the funniest way possible that I think like you have to have like been there to get the humor of it. But like there's this one scene where like so the main character was basically starving on the street because he didn't know he could turn into a tiger, and people kept like shoving him around. And they're like, "Yeah, come work for us. It'll be fine. We'll give you a dorm. It'll be cool, and you can turn into a tiger." And so, like, he gets a text from Dazai saying, "Please come outside. It's an emergency." And Dazai has shoved himself into a barrel. And he's like, why are you shoved into a barrel?" And he's like, "Because I read it was a good way to kill yourself." And he's like, "Okay, well," and he's like, "But now I'm uncomfortable." He's like, "Well, you'll die eventually." And he's like, "Yeah, I want to die, but I don't want to suffer." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I was laughing because I'm like, I understand that. I understand that sentiment. Like, I'm just tired. It doesn't mean I want to be in pain. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but so like the show is funny and weird and like just crazy, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Plus the soundtrack's really good.
Mm.
And then we watched Demon Slayer. And I realized something about Demon Slayer while we were watching it, in that I I'm not connecting with any of the characters emotionally. Because like I have a soft spot for himbos, right? So Inosuke is my favorite, and I love Rengoku like a lot because he's he's like a super hyper himbo. But spoilers, I guess, even though it's season 2 and everyone knows, Rengoku dying at the end of that season affected me not at all. Like, I didn't cry. I was just like, "Oh, okay." It might be because I already knew, but, like, at the same time, I just, like, even if I know like, as an example, in Given, this one episode makes me cry every single time, and I've seen it, like, 7 times. So, it has to do with the emotional connection with the characters, and I just have 0 with Demon Slayer, and I realized it's because the only character that ever gets fully fleshed out is Tanjiro. The rest of the characters are like one note, essentially. They don't have nuance. And one of my friends also said that Nezuko gets neglected a lot, and I was like, yeah, she does. That like they leave her they leave her behind constantly.
Yeah,
She
they leave her in that box.
she didn't get to train with them. They left her in that little room. They could have trained at night when they
I
were
think
hanging out.
I think from different things that I'm seeing, like people get fleshed out in the second season, or they start fleshing people out in the second season. Hopefully they do. But I already have a connection with some of the characters. Like I kind of love some of the other characters, and I totally cried when your boy died. I was like,
Oh, did you?
but it's really easy for me to form connections, partially because of my
Okay.
anxiety.
Yeah, that show doesn't give me any
It,
anxiety. It's like the complete opposite of Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen ruins me on like so many levels because like I'm hyper connected to like all of the characters
mhm,
on there. Like even the comic makes me cry, and usually the comics
mhm,
are like less impactful because I'm reading them so fast. But
mhm.
yeah, even the comic, I was like sobbing.
I will say my one real like negative thought about the whole train arc is that the flesh tentacles
Oh my god.
were such bad CGI. Like
They could have done
what
so much with that, and they just didn't.
there
They
were
just left it.
scenes there were scenes where you could tell it was hand drawn, and when it was hand drawn, it looked so much better than whatever computer generated crap they were trying to put in there. But there was a few flashes where it was hand drawn. And that looked really I'm like, oh, this looks good. This looks threatening. But the rest of it just looked comical.
Yeah,
And
so
it
and it
kept
was especially noticeable when, like, the demon's head was on the tentacle, because the head
mhm,
was cel shaded and hand drawn, and the tentacle literally looked like raw hamburger as a tentacle coming out of the
mhm,
head, and I was like, "Yeah, that's gross, but, like, not in a way that I'm enjoying."
mhm, mhm. It was just like intense intestines. It was just
It was too
and they were
smooth.
so yeah, it was too smooth.
It was too smooth and shiny.
So yeah, that's my only like ugh with the episode. But I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not, like you said, if the movie is basically just a compressed version of the arc. I'm also looking forward to season 2 as I continue to watch season 1.
Yeah, let's like if the movie is just a compressed train arc, let's just move on to the entertainment sector instead,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I want to see some Tengen, because I know I'm gonna love Tengen a lot. Yeah. So that's pretty much it for me. I read a lot. I realized that because I've been on a severe BL binge for the past 3 months, I'm like massively behind on all of my line comics. I'm like 20
Mhm.
chapters behind on like 60 comics. I'm like, I don't want to read it now.
Mm, mm.
I'm like, how am I this behind on half of my Sunday comics? Oh, I forgot this comic existed. I have a problem. So I have a slight problem with reading line comics. I need to be stopped. No, I don't. Don't stop me
Is it that
because I
like
like
ADHD
it.
thing where you just like see this long list and just can't?
Partly, I also think it's just like, how invested am I in this? Because I will lose interest quickly if something becomes remotely boring, I will stop it unless I'm in the middle of a binge. If I'm in the middle of a binge, I will keep going with the comic in the anticipation that it will, go better later. But like, if I stop it at a boring part, me picking it back up again is less likely because I'm not in that binge mode anyway. And I'm kind of like, oh, well, I don't need to read this anymore. Which is bad
Mhm,
because I probably do. But I do better with Tappy Tune actually, because what I can do is go in and just unlock all of them. And then I'm like, well, I paid for it. I should read them. So that way
mm,
with Tapas, the only time you can unlock them all is if there's a sale. And then you like go in and unlock them all, which I have like, I want to say like 10 comics that I've unlocked most of. And I just haven't read because I forgot about them.
mm.
There was a sale. I had to buy it because it was on sale. Oh, God.
So tell me about this concert y'all went to.
Yes. So we went to a concert to see Elast, which is my favorite K-pop band. I was extremely excited about seeing them. I made portraits of them in miniature with watercolor, and we got the Ultra
Oh, you should
VIP
share
so
those. Do
that
you have a photo of those?
I do, but I'm embarrassed, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, I thought they were wonderful. I love them. Yeah, I get that, but they were amazing.
um, I might share them at some point, but like I am deeply embarrassed because to me they are not good. Because I am
Mm.
very, very hard on my own work, so I don't really like sharing stuff like that. But we almost didn't get to see the show
What
because
happened?
how it works is the agency signs a contract with a production company, and that production company sets up all the venues and makes sure that the boys have dressing rooms are taken care of. And the idea is that they basically take care of the tour so that the artists just have to show up and do the music. And in exchange, the production company gets all of the ticket costs. So all of the ticket prices and stuff like that go directly to the production company. And they also get a high percentage of the merch that gets sold as well. So that there's kind of like, it's a relationship that they create with the agency. Well, unfortunately, my boy signed up with a really, really shitty production company. They did not
Mm.
know that the production company was really shitty, but the production company had a track record of being shitty. And um, basically, they had already uh, screwed over two other bands before they entered. Um, they would cancel flights. They would cancel concerts at the last minute for no reason. Um, what happened to Elast though was they were like in the Atlanta show, they didn't have a dressing room. They weren't feeding the boys.
What?
Like they were literally abusing the boys on the tour. And in the Chicago show, the agency had finally had enough and basically uh, fired them. So they no longer had an obligation to do the show. But the boys insisted on doing a show for us despite being exhausted and
Mhm.
not having been taken care of properly because all their fans were there. Um, The production company also switched venues at the last minute. So we initially went to the
Ooh.
wrong venue and then went to the correct venue.
Oh
Um,
no.
and they canceled all of the VVIP stuff that we did. And a bunch of people were really upset about it because they had saved up to be able to get the special meet and greet and stuff like that. And um, there was no way for them to get money back because of how this production company ran. And like, I get why they were upset, but during the concert itself, the boys apologized to us when it was not their fault. And it kind of makes me sick that they had to do that, or that they felt that they had to do that. Um, and they let us shake their hands on the way out of the venue, which
Mm.
afterwards I nearly bodied Erica into the parking lot concrete while screeching like a banshee because I love them so much. No,
It
I
was
literally
an
screamed
amazing
my way
show.
all the way to the car. I feel like I probably disturbed some people. But yeah, the show was really good. Like, I really, really hope that they get a better production company and come back. But the fact that this was their first time in the US just makes me ill that they went through all that, because if they decide not to come back because of their experience, I can't really blame them, but it'll make me really, really, really sad because of how much I love them. So,
Well, we're just gonna have to go to Korea. Like,
yes. Let's just go to Korea. That's a great
we're just gonna
idea.
go to Korea.
It's really interesting though, because I don't think that that's necessarily a like super unusual experience with K-pop. I mean, the it's kind of sort of like American pop music. You become this commodity,
Mhm.
and people look for ways to make money off of you. And in this particular case, like this was an extreme case, what we saw. I mean, to have the venue changed at the last moment, to have like this concert was in a neighborhood, basically. There's nothing around, right? Like you can't run out and get pizza. Nobody went out and got food for these kids. Like, and they're kids,
Mm.
like they're maybe early,
Yeah, like the
20s,
oldest one was born
18.
in 97 or 96. So like
My
they're
brain just can't.
yeah.
Okay. Whew, I need a moment. All right.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, just to have them there trying to work out these concert details, to have them not be fed, to have none of their merch on sale. Like there was no way they were
Oh
going to make any
wow.
money off of this concert. They like the my understanding is bands will sell their licensed merchandise
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
the I don't know, they sell it to, I don't know if it's the production company or the
I
venue
think
to
I
sell
think it's
for
the
them.
production company, because the production company gets a cut. So basically they'll get the merch and then sell it, and that's how they make a lot of the
Yeah.
money. And uh yeah, like it's they didn't have any merch. Like I couldn't get merch of my favorite band. They didn't even have light sticks, which they always have light sticks because they want you to engage with the
Oh.
band during the show. Like, but I have light sticks now. They came like the week I got back. I was like, God damn it.
Mm.
I could have had these for the show, but I didn't. Um, but fun side note, Wanyuk did a cover of Kickback, the Chainsaw Man opening.
It was
Oh wow.
They also
amazing.
they also did a dance compilation to a bunch of other K-pop. It was really fun. Like we all had fun at the concert, and like all of the songs they did. I cried when they did my favorite song. Like I was very much engaged with the actual concert itself. It's just all of the stuff that happened around it gave me a bit of a bitter aftertaste because they're
Mhm.
my favorite band, and having them hurt like that, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it made me really sad.
Mhm.
I'm
It
so upset about it.
it was, like, bad to the point where I felt bad that we had tickets to that show.
Yeah.
Like, I read about a boycott of them, or not of the band, but of the tour because of the bad experiences people had been having with this because of this production company
MC
later
Entertainment
on.
is the production company. So MC
Thank you
Entertainment,
for saying their name, putting
yeah,
them on blast.
definitely put them on blast. And I totally get why people would want to boycott because, again, a lot of people lost out on ticket on their money because they weren't getting what they actually paid for. So I get why people were like, well, we're going to boycott this because of the production company, but at the same time, because they're my favorite boys, can you imagine traveling all the way to the US and having an empty house? How devastating that would be at the same
And it
time.
was it was a very small show too, and I wonder how much of
It
that was due
was
to having the
that
venue moved at the very last moment.
it was partly that and partly because they basically hamstrung the tickets. Like the original venue could only hold 250 people. The new venue could hold 1,800 people, and they did not put additional tickets up for sale.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, they were fucking around like majorly. Um
I think they had a handful of tickets available, but they were only the very expensive ones, the
yes,
highest level tickets, and I think they were trying to sell more of the
they were trying to
VIP
push that.
tickets.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they also had like a thing where you could purchase selfies with them that a lot of people ended up not getting because of the production company fucking around. Um, there are good production companies, like according to one of my friends who does a lot of research on this, Mammoth is really good, and
Mhm.
Leo Presents is really good. So hopefully, and Leo Presents apparently reached out to the management company of Elast to see if they would um, maybe work with them next time, which I think would be really
Mhm.
good. And I will definitely see them again when they come out. But hopefully they'll announce it a little sooner so I will have more time to make them better presents because I will be doing that again. I'll have more practice though, so they'll be better. It'll be good.
Has there been any update on what they've been doing since? Have they gone home? Is
I
it a chill break, or
I think they have
what are they
to. I
doing?
think they
Yeah.
have to have gone home. Their New York concert was canceled last minute, and none of the tickets were refunded. So again, they like what
So you
the
understand a boycott when that is happening, right? It's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
and obviously not the band's fault, but how, if you know this is going on, why would you buy a ticket? If
Yeah.
you know it's not, there's a chance it's not going to happen and you can't get your money
I
back.
know. I'm just saying
Yeah.
for me,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I'm
I
always going
know.
to show up for these guys.
Yeah.
That's just how I am.
Yep.
But yeah, no, like I totally get that, and the production company is wrong for like everything that they did, and the venue itself, like the people who were working just the venue, because they have like local staff who are not affiliated with the production company at all. They were who we were getting all of our info from. Because we made friends
Mm.
while in line,
Mhm.
because of course we did. And yeah, they were telling us like they're not going to put this show on their resume, like they don't want to be associated with the mess that MC was creating. And the venue manager went and bought pizza for the boys, and MC Entertainment would not let them eat it. Their staff ate it instead. Yeah, no, they were
What?
yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
that level of
It,
fucked up. That's we were livid.
literally withholding food would not let them have anything to eat all day long. And the concert was hours late.
Yeah, hours late.
I hope no one ever works with them again. That is so fucked up way to treat
Yeah.
human
Anyone.
beings.
Yes.
And the last time something like that happened, it was with a company called Omega X. or the band Omega X. But the reason why it was not as loud as it should have been because the production company literally canceled their flight into New York from South America without telling anyone. Um, but that one got overshadowed by the fact that the CEO of the agency that represented the boys was literally harassing, abusing both physically and verbally the boys and sexually harassing them.
Oh my
So
God.
the boys sued their agent and basically went to court with them over that. And that whole kerfuffle kind of overshadowed the fact that MC Entertainment fucked their tour as well. But Elast is seeking legal repercussions with MC Entertainment. They
They
are
should.
suing them.
They
So
should.
I'm glad that they're doing that for
I
them.
hope they have the energy and are supported and held while they do that because any legal proceeding can really like
Yeah.
wear and tear on you. So I hope that they have a lot of support while they go through that, and I hope they get some justice for what they went through and what they had to endure. People show up. It's kind of like the same with the writer's strike. It's like
Mm-hmm.
they are the ones that are creating the content. You're making the money off of their content. Like, pay them. Pay them.
Yeah. Pay them.
Take care of
And
them.
side note about Elast in general is that apparently a large contingent of their fans are like super queer because the people I met in line
Yay!
in front of me were like non-binary and trans, and they were like, yeah, a lot of the community is us, and I'm like,
Wonderful.
yes. So like they as a band, I love them so much and I can't explain why. Because they're a smaller band and like the bigger
Hmm.
bands are like lower on my list than them because of how much I love them. I love them so much. So check them
Mm.
out. Definitely listen. It is uh apostrophe LAST. That is their band name. And
Okay.
they're my favorite and I highly recommend them.
I'll look
So
up some videos.
definitely do. Dangerous and is great, and Dark Dream is my favorite, but also
Okay.
Creature is fantastic. I can just send you links.
Thank you.
I am nothing if not an enabler of content. Um, yeah, but like I really wanted to talk about that because I did not know that that's how these tours worked. So knowing a little bit more about that, like I know that a lot of people get upset at like Ticketmaster for the way that they do ticket stuff, but don't get upset at the bands for that because they literally can't control any of it. Like
Hmm.
they're
Like they
literally just
sign years
showing up
long
to make music.
contracts, years
Yeah,
in
yeah.
advance.
So,
Mm.
Hard to get out of
yeah.
that stuff. And and you've signed with them long before the screw ups ever happen. Or
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't even know. I can't even call this a screw up. Like it's just absolute
Yeah, it feels
abuse.
it,
It feels very dirty. Like
yeah.
Hmm.
And that's why my experience was a little tainted, but
yeah.
I loved seeing the boys and I hope they had fun, even though it was a rough night for everybody. Um, at least a little bit. But anyway, our next topic is about charms, and I have to ask, do you guys name your cars and do they have gender?
Yes, the car to both of them. Right now, the car has the name Lady Galahad, and before
Nice.
the yeah, Michelle named the car Lady Galahad. Um, but like I don't know if Lady Galahad necessarily has a gender. Um, because it's like Queen with a W, right?
Yeah.
It's like Queen with a W. So yes, that's my answer on the car we have.
Okay. What about you, Erica?
I have had a car that had both a name and a gender, but it was 2 vehicles ago. My last couple
Okay.
haven't inspired that in me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Hmm.
I feel like when you put that much energy into a car, it makes it like it does something different. So all of mine have, every single one of them
Mhm.
has had both. So like my very first car was a gold Maxima and its name was Banjo and I named it Erica remembers. So I've known Erica since middle school. We have our relationship is 25 years old. Our relationship
Mhm.
can rent a car. That's how long we've known each other. Um,
Mhm.
um, so Banjo, I named after this episode of Space Ghost Coast to Coast, where he has a has a sea monkey that gets too big and it starts rampaging and he has to kill it. And while he kills it, he screams banjo. And I got attached to the name. And my dumbass named the car after the thing that gets killed in Space Goes Coast to
Oh
Coast. So I
no.
shouldn't
No,
have been
friend.
surprised
No.
when I
You should have
crashed
let
him.
Miracle
I I should have known all along that I had doomed my own fucking car. Um the next car was also a Maxima that I named Ja'aku, which means wicked in Japanese. And that one had more femme energy. That one was like a femme dom, black and red and sexy as hell. I loved that car
I think that's
so
why I
much.
like that one so much.
I slapped her with some Sailor Moon stickers. Like we did road trips in that car. We didn't care. She was a bulldog. I ran over so many curbs in that car.
It
to,
danced at stoplights.
that my
We did
dad, when he
too.
drove it, he was like, "What the fuck did you do to this car? The alignment is broken." I'm like, "Nothing. It drives just fine. I should drive it because you're clearly doing it wrong." And then the car that I had after that was Peanut, which you know very well, Rawia, the little red
Mhm.
scion. My little
Yes,
red
I do.
scion was named Peanut, and Peanut was not really male or female. Peanut was just a little guy. He was just a
Mm.
little guy doing stuff.
Aw.
So he pronouns, but just a little guy as gender, which I feel like is a
Mhm.
separate gender from
Mhm. Mhm.
just just a little dude. And then my current car is also male. And because again, this car is dedicated to Anubis and his name is Ambu. And he is great. And but I have a charm in the car and I used a Mookite necklace for protection. And then I have a spider brooch, like a gemmed spider brooch, as a no-see-um. And I call it no-see-um, but
Mhm.
it's basically a anti-cop spell, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yo.
So that I won't get pulled over as often because I like to go fast.
Yo. I had my first car was named Betty and it was just a basic like Betty because she was a fucking Betty and she was a two-door Honda Civic um with a sunroof and everything. I dressed to match this bitch interior. Like we I was
Wow.
I had like three different seat covers. And I had outfits that matched the seat covers.
That
And I
is
used
so
to visit one of my
fancy.
friends, right? I was in Colorado Springs, so I used to one of my friends was a her husband was a in the Navy. And so I would go to the military base all the time and they'd always have to check you in. But one guy was like, "Oh, I heard about you because I was matching my car," and he like knew my name and everything because it was a point of discussion, I guess.
You had
And
a
my
reputation.
second, I had a reputation. And my second car was a silver Kia, and I will stand by Kia. Like I will stand by Kia car. Kia, I think is a Korean produced car. I think Korean is like the Korean Toyota.
Well,
Like,
Hyundai is a Korean brand as well. Hyundai.
is
The
it?
Yeah, that one's Korean.
Well, the Kia like takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Like I had that car, and that car I needed to hold up because I moved to California with that car, and I put a charm on it that was a little like prism with a moon on it and everything. And I
Yeah.
put that charm on it, and I put a do not see me on that. Do not see me unless you are another driver, but do not see me if you are the police or anything, because this car, okay, I moved here. I was in a bad relationship when I moved here. Like, he did not want to work or anything. I had to like work, I had to clean, I had to cook, I had to take care of everything, even did the taxes for the both of us. All this shit I would do. So, we were really poor and couldn't afford to get the car plates and to pay the taxes. And then the more it got in default, the more expensive it became. So I was like, they're gonna compound this car. They're gonna take this car away from me, and this is gonna be a thing. But so I put that charm on it. There was one time a police person was behind us, and they turned their lights on, and I was like, "Oh fuck, you don't see me." And then they pulled on the other side and left, and I was like, "Oh my god, great." But I kept that charm on there, and I told my current partner at the time, I'm like, "Look, if this bitch ever falls off, you have to tell me. You have to tell me the moment that it falls off because I have to renew it and put another one on."
Mhm.
It fell off. He didn't tell me he was driving the car that week. Why did he get pulled over and that car got taken away?
Oh, no.
And
Ah.
and I was like, "I told you to tell me when the fucking charm fell off." And he's like, "Yeah, but I didn't believe that." I'm like, "We had this car for fucking like 5 years, no plates. 5
What the
years,
fuck?
no
Wow.
fucking plates." We had that car when we met. I had that car when we met. Mhm.
I
Yep, I
remember
had
that
that car
car.
when we met. Yep. And then
That car
afterwards,
was a
I got a car.
workhorse too.
Yes,
That
because
car
I
did
lived in that
work.
fucking car. I lived in that car mostly. Like, I had clothes in that car. I had like food in that car. Like, I had everything I needed because I was working full time, 40 hours a week, and going to school 16 hours a week
Mhm.
at the same time. So like that was like basically that car was my everything. I slept in my bed at night, but I took naps in that car, and that car was like always, I was always in that car. And then the last car that I had, the next car I had was called the Millennium Falcon.
I think I
She
remember
was
that car
old
too.
school. She was old school, and her transmission went out um while I was crossing over a railroad track. And she
That's
was like,
not
What?
"I'm not gonna
great.
go." And I'm like, "Yes." And I was like, "I need you to work. I need you to work. I need you to work." So that car didn't have any real gender to me. Um it was like the name was, she was a Thunderbird. So I would call her the Millennium Falcon, but my friend would call her the Thunder Chicken. And it was a Ford, so fix or repair daily. And then
Fix
the
or
next car after that,
Daily.
fix or repair daily. Yes.
Oh god, that reminds me. I grew up with a Ford. My dad had like a this old ass F-150. Like the car was as old as me, and I
Mhm.
remember that its horn sounded like a goose. So, like, whenever he would leave me in the car, I'd just be like, "Honk, honk, bitch," like, every single time, and he's like,
Mhm.
"Stop it," and I'm like, "But it's funny." It
Mhm.
doesn't sound like a horn, it's over here, "Quack." I'm like,
Yeah.
which reminds
Every
me,
every
oh,
No,
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 go
go
ahead,
ahead.
sorry. I was just gonna say, apparently Teslas have this feature where you can put any sound as the horn.
Oh, I saw the meow.
That's a good
Yes!
feature.
That was so funny. Like, you can, like, download a sound, and that sound will become the horn sound, so whenever you hit the horn, like, the sound will come out of your car, and you
Mhm.
can use anything.
I feel like
Hmm.
a husband and 2 boys, and I feel like mine would be fart sounds very fast.
Yes. or Godzilla. You run around with "Rah!" coming out of the car.
I can't even do it.
Actually, that would be pretty
Let-
badass.
I'm thinking mine would be move, bitch, get out the
Get out the
way,
way.
get out the
Get out
way,
the way,
bitch, get
bitch.
out the
Get out
way.
the way. I am legit not allowed to listen to that song while on the highway because I will go too fast. I have the tendency to go too fast all the time forever, to the point that I am not allowed to drive sports cars. Because the last time I drove a sports car, it was when I went to a wedding in Oklahoma, and there was no one else on the highway, and I was in a Mustang going 120 without realizing it because I was just like,
Because
I
when
could
the
go
road is
fast now.
smooth, the road is smooth and nobody's there.
Exactly.
You can
I
see
get
for
it.
miles. You got to go that fast. It's the law. That's, I'm sure it is.
It's the
When I
law of
drove
driving a
cross
Mustang.
country,
Yeah.
Or because you used to drive your dad's Mustang, and like,
Yeah.
so she would drive her dad's Mustang and then like yell out the window at other cars, "My dick is bigger than yours."
glorious.
It was the best. We were menaces in high school, I swear to fuck. But back to the Millennium Falcon. Sorry, I derailed you so hard.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Obviously, I did not get harmed on a train track, and I had to put that
Yay.
car down.
You had
I had
to you had to euthanize the
I
car.
had to put the car down. Yeah. I sent it to a place that does, what is it called? They take your car and then they fix it and they give it to someone in need, to a
Okay.
family who needs a car. So I was able to do that. So you're either able to salvage the car by putting a new transmission in it, or scrapes, use it for
Use it for
parts to fix
parts.
other cars.
Yeah.
So
That's
that's what
awesome.
I did with that car. And then after that, my ex got a car that I used for my business, and that one was called Lady Bodicea, or
Ooh,
Bodicea. Yeah.
Ooh.
that's
So,
yes,
Like
that's a
yeah.
unicorns have
strong
like
ass
not just a
name.
name but a title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's that Irish queen who like
Warrior Queen. Yeah.
yeah, she was badass.
Mhm.
That is a
I was like,
proper
great.
car name.
But I also have named my computers. I've had charms for my computers. What else have I had charms for? My massage table had a charm.
It's like, "Oh yeah, you get real attached to stuff."
I do.
Emotionally invested in the inanimate objects, I should
It's
say.
either all or nothing for me. It's
Yes.
like this is either like great and like I need this for the rest of my life. And if I give it out or borrow it, it means that allow someone else to borrow it. It means I really, really fucking love you.
Oh.
Um, yeah,
Oh no, I
yeah.
have some of your stuff.
I
I
really,
still
really fucking love you.
I still have your copy of House of Leaves that I have not read. Yes! It has all your notes in it too. I love it so much.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I
Oh,
have it. It's mine.
that book was so fucked up.
Yeah, I can tell. Like it has a weird energy to it, like as a
Mhm.
book.
Like the book itself is creepy.
Yeah.
Like,
The book
like,
has a vibe. Just holding it, it has a vibe, which is
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. I got another copy of the book. Like I bought another copy of
That's what
the
you
book.
do. I have like 7 copies of Sabriel somewhere
Oh,
because
me
that's
too. Yeah.
that that was like our middle school "We love this book so much" book. And
Mhm.
the audiobook is narrated by Tim Curry. So if you haven't
Oh
read the
my
audiobook
god.
at all, I highly recommend doing that as
That would be
well
so
I'm going
Tim
right now.
Curry.
because you need more copies of Sabriel.
Mm,
I do. I do.
Obviously.
I can't read
mm.
Sabriel and like do
Yeah.
yard work. Like I need an
Yeah.
audible. I'm doing that right. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm doing this right now.
No,
No,
do
no,
it. We
that's
do this
often
all the
how it
time. That
happens.
is that is how this show works. We like immediately tell each other and start Googling on our phones
Yeah, it's almost
whatever
like
that
you almost have to,
item
like, go
is.
on pause and let your audience go and look it up
Well, no,
too.
we'll talk while we're doing it because we're talking about what we're looking at, like
Mm.
the monster cock episode.
Oh my God, my brain was like, yeah, remember when we were looking at all those dicks online? Like it was great.
Like,
Like
remember
it was
talking about
great.
that ovipositor dildo? Yeah.
Yeah, I totally
That was
remember that.
See, and this is why you needed to listen to all the episodes before coming on,
We
so you would
oh,
be
no,
well
but we've
prepared.
had this, discussion with the tentacle dildos
Yes. Yeah, because after doing it, I
separately.
had to show you guys because I knew
Yeah.
that you'd find it amusing, and but yeah, I make charms for other people's cars too because I feel like,
Oh, I have one.
it's important. Yeah, you have one because I made one for you.
Yep, yep.
But I
So
also feel
what's your
like when you put energy into an object, that itself is a kind of a charm as well, you know what I mean?
yeah, it doesn't have to be a whole like gree bag. Like it could be just you taking something that you love or that someone else loves and charging it with energy and intent.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that with stones a lot. I make little
Mhm.
stone charms. So that's why, like, I layered my charm because I didn't want the protection charm to be interfered with by the no-see-um. And I call it no-see-um, and I realize that that's actually the name of a bug.
Mm.
The no-see-ums, because like they're those little gnats that like you can't see, but then like they're up your nostrils when you walk into them.
Oh my God. Yes, I know those. I know. Ah! Just reminded me of one time one flew up my nose and then I like coughed it out my mouth. It was
Yeah.
so ah.
But yeah, I call it the no-see-um charm because I'm like, that is what I am to cops. They're not gonna see me until I'm well
Mhm.
past them or I'm
Mhm.
up their nose. Either way. Um, but yeah, so I kept it separate so that they wouldn't, interfere, but I make sure to re-up, every time I drive somewhere far away and have some near misses, I re-up the protection, and same with the no-see-um. I re-up the no-see-um every time I, like, almost get
Mhm.
caught by a cop. And I've decreased the amount of times I've been pulled over, which is good. Ohio is a pain in the ass. Like
Decreased.
the cops here will pull me over for going a bit fast. And by a bit fast I mean 90. But that is a normal
Fucking
speed and
cops
I
pulling me over for going 90.
it's just a little fast. You know, I can go 90 all the way to Chicago and no one stops me because Indiana and Chicago don't give a fuck if you just go fast. They
Right.
care if you're in a construction zone. In Ohio, you just go a bit fast
Yeah.
down an open highway and they're like, the road is wet. You're going to jail. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Okay, I'll pay $150. Jesus Christ. Stupid cops. Anyway. Um, but yeah, so you mentioned gree bags. Can you explain your making of them and what they are?
Wait, before I say that, speaking of cops, and specifically cops and pride, because they're all like,
Oh.
we're doing pride stuff, like law enforcement is with you, and I'm like, law enforcement was beating us and killing us, so
Yeah.
like y'all
That's
need to
not
come clear about that.
that is
But
not the vibe.
someone, not the vibe at all, but they're like, we're gonna like lead your parade and shit like that. It's like, bitch, no, 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 not at all. But there's this person who created the imaging for the Pride, for New York Pride this year for the police, and it says all colors are beautiful. ACAB, ACAB, all cops are bastards. I was like, what? No one caught it.
Oh my
No one
god, that's
caught it.
awesome.
Isn't it? Isn't
The
it? They
person
managed.
who made that. Oh my god, chef's kiss. That is immaculate.
It's
I
it's
have to
perfect.
see it.
It's beautiful.
Oh.
So for a gree bag, which I've really just started making my own. I normally have I normally do herbs, and I normally do some stone. I know some people, so I use like well, first let me go back and say that this is part of a tradition that comes from New Orleans, part of voodoo, but this originates further back from New Orleans. It came across the diaspora from Africa, and it's like can either bring people like luck, or it can also like ward off evil, or you can use it for summoning something into your life and all that good stuff. It's like a charm or a talisman. And yeah, you can basically like some people like will confuse it with gree meaning putting a curse on someone, but like I guess there's like two meanings to the word then. But yeah, you can like buy them online, you can make them yourself. Again, I just use like these flannel bags, and I make mine, and then after I make them, I'm not being coherent today, and I am not even high. Maybe that's why I'm
You are
not
being
coherent.
completely coherent. I understand everything you're
Am
saying. Please
I?
continue. Yes.
Okay, all right. So you pick your herbs according to what your need is, and there's like several compendium about herbs that you can use.
Mhm.
And so I normally use an herb. I'll use a stone. I don't know how to get bones ethically sourced, but if I could get bones ethically sourced, I would include bones in certain gree bags. And then I anoint
How
it,
do you
or
check
I let the
ethically sourcing on bones? Like
you just
if
look
you're
up
looking at
ethically sourced bones.
but
That's
what
a
I mean
Google
is like
search. I
if
haven't
you're
been
if
able to
you're on
find
Etsy,
any.
how can you tell if they're ethically sourced or not? Like cuz I'm sure
They'll
Etsy has
say
all
it.
kinds of
Yeah,
bones.
people
They'll
will
say,
say they'll say like I got this from whatever source, or like I found this roadkill and let it decompose in my backyard.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh. So which counts as ethically sourced though? Is the decomposing roadkill, is that ethically sourced or
For me, if it was like decomposing roadkill, I love that we're using decomposing roadkill as an example.
well, I mean
Or
it's a
or
common
like if
thing.
it is, or if you had an animal who died, that you owned. What I consider, I guess, what I would be considered non-ethical would be any animal that was killed, just for sport.
Harvest from
For,
yeah.
Yeah,
like, their parts, like fur
yeah, or
industry type of
harvested.
thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but even that, if the animal's being used, if it is a situation where the whole animal is being used,
Mhm,
like the skin for like fur or hide or whatever, for leather, and the meat is being eaten, and they have like, and we have these bones left over. So like when people harvest their own chickens and stuff like that,
mhm.
then that is different for me. Which reminds me, I have a friend who has chickens, who grows chickens. I could be like, oh, let
So
me
if
get
you
some
eat
bones, or
one,
let me
let
holler
me
at
get
Here's
the
some
my coop in
bones.
the
bones.
background.
Hmm.
Oh,
Let me get
she
some
has
bones from
chickens.
you.
See 'em. Yeah, they're back there.
Hmm.
I also put in a little container garden with black flowers.
Hmm. Super cute.
Hopefully they won't eat
Super cute.
those.
Who
So
knows? They're
we
chickens.
anoint the gree. They might.
Yeah.
They might go for it. Um, and yeah, and then I anoint it, or I let it sit out in the moonlight, or not, sometimes not the moonlight, but like the new moon and stuff like that. And yeah, so I'm just intentional with what I put in it. I'm intentional with the intention that I put in it. Sometimes I will not anoint it. I'll wait until the person who needs to receive it gets it, and then be and give them suggestions on how they should anoint the gree bag. I might send them a prayer to say over it or something. But yeah, that's basically like it. And it's not something you open. Like once it's sealed, you let that shit stay sealed. It's not something you open. If you need something to like, you don't re-up it, you don't like do anything else. When it's done, and then you like get another one.
So you can't, like, recharge it with energy?
I don't recharge mine. There's
Mm,
some, like, if I were to make mine in, like, say, like a leather pouch or something like that, which is not really get used in no, I just make a new one. I bury it, I let it rest,
mhm.
I let it break down, and I just get myself a new one. Though I could see people like re-upping it, but I like making a fresh one, like as way as renewing my intention and renewing the prayer.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I will re-up most of my charms because they're stones. I use stones
Mm-hmm.
most of the time. I have used herbs, like with the get pregnant charm that I made for Erica's friend. I
Mm-hmm.
used herbs and I soaked it overnight in the moonlight in the herbs. And then the next day I
Mm-hmm.
took it out and charged it very lightly. I only lightly charged it with my energy because it was leaking everywhere just from being soaked overnight, and I was like, "I don't wanna touch it too much. In the bag, go." So I sealed it up and sent it away, and you, like, messaging me like, "Hey, can I wear this for my friend?" I'm like, "No! It will make you pregnant.
Like,
Stop it."
no, no, no. No, no, we're good, thank you.
This thing is like a
No,
like a like a
it
baby
is
nuke.
like she now is doing IVF and also becoming a foster mom. So like they're like babies coming from everywhere.
She's having a convergence
Bring
of
them to my
babies.
house.
Well, that's
Yes.
what she asked for.
Yeah. Yeah. She's I can't even wait to see what happens. I'm so excited. But there's so many things in the process for her right now. Like she's gonna get babies from everywhere.
Um,
Yeah, that was quite a charm. I didn't it's funny because charm is such like a little cute word, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
for something that is very powerful.
Yes. And some
that's
charms
true.
contain like hair and
Yeah,
bodily fluid
blood
and nails and
depends
all this
on what you
stuff.
need it for and how
Mhm.
powerful you need it to be.
There's this thing I think with the resurgence, not the resurgence of witchcraft, but kind of like the pop culture within witchcraft, where they're like,
Hmm.
there was this one beauty brand that was like, you can get our witch box, and it came with like a crystal quartz and some other shit, and they're like, and charms, and it's like, but these charms aren't necessarily charged. They
Yeah.
aren't like taken care of. They're just like, you can just use a charm. And when I first started doing my own like witchcraft and research and shit, I totally thought charms were, why ain't none of y'all told me my wig was falling off like this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
My
I
wig
wasn't
is
paying
just
enough attention. That was my bad.
going to the back. Oh my God. I fixed her a little bit now. But I thought that charms were also this very like sweet and thing, because you hear the word charm, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
that's charming, that's cute, that's
Mm,
whatever. And it's
mm,
like, no, it is not. It's like it's real.
yeah.
Like Carter, you were saying, if you wear the wrong charm, you can, if you wear somebody else's charm, there's repercussions. If you wear a charm that's looking for something, like it might work for you. It might work in ways you don't intend. So doing your intention when you're doing a charm is super like
Yeah, because
important.
like, I specifically said, I didn't put parameters on this thing. It's just
Mhm.
bam, babies. That's what that charm was. So
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
like, "Don't even
And it's
touch it.
working.
You will get babies."
Don't unwrap it. Don't look at it.
Don't sniff it because you
Pick it up
might
with
get
gloves.
babies. So a charm can be a sledgehammer. You just have to
Mhm.
watch out for it. Um, but yeah, I think charms are interesting, and we I personally will probably utilize them more because I it's one of the ways that I allow myself to have my magic in ways that I realized I don't really do spells for myself often enough, but I do charms for
Mhm.
myself. So I realized if I channel that energy of things that I want into a charm, then it will benefit me. because I enjoy making the charm in a way that maybe doing a spell for myself might not, because while I won't believe in my own worthiness of getting a spell, I will believe in my own ability to create a charm that works. So
Mhm.
I found a loophole.
Is it
Mm.
because you have something physical to hold?
Maybe, or I don't know. Maybe it's just my own insecurities in spell form. I don't know how to put it. But we've discussed this in the past. I need to get better about doing stuff for myself, which we've talked about
Yes.
previously
Mhm.
a lot.
Yes, you do so much for other people, like, practice doing it
Mhm.
for yourself. And there's also, like, the verbal charm, right? Like,
Mhm.
um, there's there's the I think the word charm, like, originates from it being a verbal thing, um, until it moved on to talisman and items where we
Mhm.
have sigils placed over things and stuff like that and meaning attached to objects and stuff like that.
And there's a
But
lot of
yeah.
ways to do that. Like there are items that you can carve stuff into to
Mhm.
make it, like, even with basic candle spells, I will carve sigils and symbols into the candle to amplify um, the spell. So that's, yeah, charms are a lot, but they're really powerful a lot of times depending on who
Yeah.
makes them.
And it can be so simple.
Yes,
Yeah.
so simple. A lot of it's
And what I love
visualization,
mhm.
because like whenever I'm doing the protection or the no-see-um, I just visualize the bubble going around the car. I just have to make sure to get the tires too, because the last time that I got only the car and not the tire, I ended up backing into a fire hydrant and destroying the tire. Not a
Oh.
single scratch was on the car. Not even a minor scratch, but the tire was fucked. The tire was, like, ripped up and the car's, like, pristine. I'm like, maybe I should make sure to extend it to the tires next time. Fucking
Mhm.
hell. So I
It's
did.
like a very Fey trick.
Right?
You didn't
For
say
real.
tires.
Like like the tires were the Achilles heel because my dumbass forgot to include them in the spell, and I didn't realize. I'm like,
All
"Ah."
the parts of the car,
Yeah, all of the
including the
car.
ones
Mhm.
that touch the road, and the ones that are non-metal.
Yeah. So, learned my lesson hard that way.
Mhm.
But,
So let's say that charms are super easy to make if you know your intention. Knowing your intention, knowing that you can use anything can be turned into a charm. I feel like it's some of the most accessible magic to do
mhm,
because, you don't, if you don't have money to go buy something, you don't have to go buy something. You can just craft it off of what you have. Um, so I think for beginners, like charms are a great place to start. Instead of starting by just casting circles, like try making a
yeah.
charm first instead of casting a circle that you can't close.
And the other thing is, like Erica, as an example, you have the charm that I made you for the car,
Mhm.
and you had
Yes.
other charms. You can easily re-up the charm without me there, just by infusing energy and intent into the charm, because it already exists as a charm. You can
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
recharge it with your energy instead of mine. Though I
Yeah,
can
and
charge
which
it from
I had to
afar.
do
ET.
when my son broke the charm the very
Oh,
first time he
no.
touched it. Sorry. Oh, you remember that, right? Because I was like, "What do I do?"
Oh, was that the one that you sent me and it's taped back together?
No. No, I had to glue it, and you told me to set it on a windowsill
Yeah.
in the moonlight.
It
Yeah.
literally cracked down the middle. What did
Yeah.
he do to make it do that?
Fuck if I know, he's Godzilla.
Mm.
I can't explain Godzilla. Stop. Oh, hold on a second. I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
If you get, I don't know how I can turn this off. Oh my god, it's turning on everything. It's on my watch. It's on my phone. It's on my computer. I don't know what's making the noise.
Whatever that alarm is, it needs you to do
Good
something right now.
God. It's a husband.
Oh, tell him to fuck off. Tell
Yeah, it's like,
Tony I said fuck off. Kindly from me, Hearts. I've known him since high school too.
Oh.
oh my goodness. Don't even. Don't even.
It'd be like I'm silencing my phone.
It is. It's on silent.
Then where's the noise coming from?
My computer, it's ringing on my watch and my computer too.
I don't know. Sometimes when you set favorites, it rings through.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's how come, like, even no matter what time of day you message me, Carta, like I will most often get it because you're on my favorites. So you kind of break
Ooh,
through.
that makes me
You
so
break
happy.
through.
Aw.
I
It
don't know how
just
to
also
set
means
favorites. I will.
it also means that if you ever get a message with a you may one day, hopefully not, get a message where it's like my location, everything, because you're also under my emergency contacts is one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
So you might get a little like, here's where I am. And it's like, don't worry, don't worry. I have people in the city. But like,
Okay, I'm like, I'll
yeah.
fly out there. I don't care. I will
I
get on a plane
listen,
for you.
listen, when you had COVID,
Mhm.
like, and I told my housemate you had COVID, my housemate was like, you cannot go there. And I'm like, and I'm like, but they need me. They took care of me when I had SARS. Like, I'm alive because of Carta. That's how I say your name.
It's fine.
Like, I'm
Um,
alive because of this human being. So yeah.
yeah, COVID was a bitch.
Mhm.
And I'm still
I
feeling it.
yeah.
Yay.
Mm.
Uh,
I hope
well,
Ryland's able to help with that.
I hope so as well. I'm seeing an herbologist on Tuesday, and they have had long COVID issues as well. So hopefully we can work something out where my fevers and
Mhm.
a high heart rate can be handled, because I am tired of not being able to self medicate on coffee. I only can have
Mm.
coffee 2 times a week, and that is not okay. I need to have it every day to keep my brain from to make my brain do stuff like work.
Mhm.
Because otherwise I just want to read comics and draw all day, and that's not working. That's not
It's a
doing
different
work.
kind of work.
I mean, fair, it is.
It's a different kind of
And I have been working on a new project, so I'm very excited about that.
work.
But anyway, let's talk about smut. Now, for me, I mainly do comic smut. I haven't done a whole lot of book smut, but I have done an excessive amount of comic smut to the point that I have to check myself when like going out in public so no one like looks at my phone and just sees a shit ton of dicks, because that could happen. Or like dick shapes, because most of them are censored. The way they censor it is just like whiting it out, because that
Yep.
makes it not look like a dick. It's like, I know what this is. It's very clear. You guys don't need to do all that.
You just need like one of
Yep.
those privacy screen reflector things.
Yes, I need to
Check
get one
for
of
that.
those so I
Oh,
can
you
read my
Mhm.
smut in
do.
peace in public.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
But
So what's y'all's favorite smut right now?
ooh.
um I'm open to a lot of stuff. I don't like period stuff. Like I mean like a historical time period.
Okay.
Sorry.
Really? But you like love Outlander. What are you talking about?
Clarify it.
Wouldn't you read
Yeah,
Outlander smut?
I did. I did. It's not really smut though. It's
No, I'm saying
I
like
do yes.
I'm sure Archive of Our Own has some Outlander smut. Let's be
It's
very
Mhm.
fair.
Yeah, so Outlander is kind of like a hybrid of like sci-fi, time travel, and historical, which is kind of cool. But like historical romance is just not. I mean, I guess it depends on the time period. Like Regency is really popular with like Bridgerton and stuff, and it's all
Mhm.
about like the wedding season and going to get mated, and
Wait,
it's very
mated?
much a
What?
yeah. I don't know. Maybe
That's
it's the
making me
wrong
think
word.
Omegaverse. So like
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
that's why
like
I
my
giggled.
brain is
That
going
You have to go
somewhere
that's
get
else.
why I
married.
giggled.
I don't know, but they're like not supposed to have sex, and it's very much like exchange of property, and it's all very practical and plotted out and planned, and I don't know, not my thing, but yeah, I really like modern pieces, and um I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot that I wouldn't read. Um, but I'm not into like it's more of a it's less like the genre and more of like the content warnings.
Mhm.
So many
Yeah.
of them are starting to include content warnings, which I love. Like you got like this includes like non-consent or consensual non-consent or child abuse or whatever else.
Mhm.
A lot of that stuff will be listed at the beginning, and it makes it much easier to just kind of pick and choose what I'm going to read based on that. Um, which I
Yeah,
think
it's
it
nice
has
when
been
they warn you
helpful.
about what's in it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's huge. And I know it's like a huge,
I'm
whatever.
sorry. You keep saying huge, and my brain just keeps wanting to giggle about it.
Oh no.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Sorry. Like popular
Huge.
maybe like
No,
a
no, no. Keep using the word huge. I just
No, it's
needed
because
to
we're talking about
get
smut
that
and you
off
we're
keep
my
talking about
saying
dick.
chest.
huge and we're like, huge. Okay.
Huge.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Huge.
it's I don't know, it's a thing like make fun of on the right wing or whatever political spectrum, the like trigger warnings and content warnings, but it's so helpful when you're trying to pick through all of this content and figure out,
Yeah.
there's there's so much out there,
There's a
and what are you going
lot.
to read,
There's
and
too much.
it
I no, there's
exactly, like it helps you narrow down what it is you want and what you don't want. I think
yeah.
that's wonderful.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Anyway, what's my favorite? I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot to choose from.
Do
A
you have
lot
like a
to
current favorite that
choose
you've been
from.
reading?
I do. I mean, the ones I talked about at the beginning with the Sarah J. Maas, I read those probably once a
Are they
year.
smut?
They have smutty bits. They're fantasy,
Okay.
fantasy slash
Yeah, because
smut.
there's layers of smut. Like
Yeah.
some of the stories, like the
Yes.
story is on the forefront, and then like they have hot boning in the background, and some of them are
Mm-hmm.
just about the hot
Mm-hmm.
boning. And
Some of
I
them are
read
smut forward.
Sometimes you're
both.
in the mood for that. Sometimes you want that
Yeah,
on page one, right?
yeah.
I don't know. I
I
like
read
there to
a
be a story
series.
with it.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. I was just
No,
gonna
no,
say I
go
like there to
ahead.
be a story with it. I mean, like erotica is fun, but typically I like if for a book reading, like I want a story. Like erotica, you
Honestly,
can just
Mhm.
pick up and open any page.
You want
it's
some meat with your
hotter if
potatoes.
you're emotionally invested in the characters that are boning.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me.
Yes.
If you're like, I care about these characters and I want to see them smash. Thank you.
You know, you
Which
Yeah.
mm, not for me all the time. I think that I'm just like, let me see how many different words you can come up with for penis and vagina and
that's
insertion.
fun.
Like,
So
I'm
fun.
just,
Okay,
Some of
what's your
them are
favorite
so
for
bad.
both? What's your favorite?
oh God, I have to think about that. There's so many. Like
I
I
always
have
like and also cringe at what is it? Velvet
velvet.
covered steel.
Yeah,
velvet
And I'm
anything to
covered
like,
do with
oh,
steel.
velvet.
velvet is
Mhm.
fuzzy. It's fuzzy. It's
Mhm.
not just soft. Like it's got a texture.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You're
it
right.
could be.
like maybe a
Somebody was
silk or a
talking about
satin or something, but like a velvet? Really?
I follow this audiobook narrator on Instagram, and one of the things she started laughing and had to like redo a scene where she was like this werewolf, she was like, she was surprised by his hairy cock. And then
Wow.
wondered where his clothes went. It's like so his
Oh my God,
werewolf
I love when they, because sometimes they'll say shit that just throws you. I love that too. I find that shit hilarious. Like when they have a practical thought during like a bang sesh.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like, but like in my mind, I'm just imagining him just being like, poof, werewolf. And it's like dong and like no clothes and just fur everywhere. So I'm like,
I also
maybe his cock is velvety because he's a werewolf and
Yeah.
it's fuzzy.
I just thought about a hair getting caught inside of me and I was not happy about it.
Oh my
I
god,
was not
that,
I
that
was
would
not
be
happy
so
about it.
gross.
I'm not happy about that. So I also love whenever they say anything like you're perfect. You are perfect for me, or you're the perfect fit, or you were made for
Yeah.
me. And stuff like that, like that whole perfect thing, because I know that if someone said it to me while I was actually in bed with them, like I would laugh so
Yeah.
hard. Like, you're perfect, you fit perfectly around my cock, and it would be over. It would be, could you imagine someone telling you that while they're inside of you? Like, oh, you're perfect. Like, you're perfect. Your pussy's perfect. Like, I would give them points for alliteration, but after that, I would.
You're like, boo. Like during the end, boo. No. What's wrong with you? Get off me.
But for me right now, my genre is mated and faded. Like, I love the whole thing of faded, like
Oh,
lovers.
fated mates. Yes.
Faded
Yeah.
mate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
love that.
I have a whole list because Kindle Unlimited only lets me check out 20 books. But I was
Only
following a list
20?
only
That's
20
not
Oh,
unlimited.
yeah. I was like, well, no, at a
and
time. You have to like
at a
give one
time.
back
Yeah.
before you can get another one. That's how that
Yeah,
works.
you have to trade.
But I was
But you can
like,
only
you're
But
hold on.
reading 20 books at one time?
Yeah.
it's
Wait, I can't really
No.
talk.
digital.
That's not
I'm
very
reading like
long for like a
800
to be
comics
read
at once.
list. Like my TBR is hundreds and hundreds.
I literally
But I
can't
had a
talk.
whole
Why
list
am I
of like
harassing you about this?
what is it called? It's not like denied mates or like where like no, I don't want to be mated to you. It's like a whole subsection of fated mates.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've got a whole list of those
Yes,
to read. I'm very
Like
excited about it.
mate rejection, maybe?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but you can't. You
That's
can't reject it. The fates will not
that's most of
allow.
the ones that I have read so far. Have been like,
Yeah.
They're like
I don't.
denying
This
it and
is
then they fall
weird.
into it.
Yeah, this is weird. And they're like, no, you have to stay with me for 1 week, like in this woods, and like and find out how magnificent I am. And they're like, okay, I have a whole job, but like this dragon just picked me up out of nowhere, came to my fucking house, crawled in through my window, and was like, grabbed me and kidnapped me and brought me to a whole other fantasy realm that exists in between my role and his. And now we're supposed to bone, but they're like, no, I want you to choose me. But nigga, you kidnapped me. Like, how am I supposed to choose you when you kidnapped me? And
Mhm.
somehow I'll bring you home whenever you want. Bring me home now. No. Like, those are my favorites. Absolute favorites. Top
They can
notch.
be so funny. Like just so
Yeah.
funny.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Who's it? Ruby Dixon has a whole dragon series. She wrote Ice Planet Barbarians, which like often gets shelved in like the children's section at Target and Walmart.
What?
Is not where those
Why?
go.
Oh my god.
Because they look at these like cartoon covers with like blue people on them and they're like, oh, this must be a kid's book. It is not for children.
Yeah, no,
Oh
not
my
at
God.
all.
What was your
The
first
those are
smut?
aliens. My first smut,
First.
first ever.
Yeah, what was your first smut? Do you remember it?
It was, yeah, it was like a local Naperville author because I used to read my mom's books all the time, and she was not a
Mm-hmm.
Smut fan, but this was like a local author, and so she had like signed copies of her books that she'd met her at, whatever Anderson's bookshop, and those were the ones that I
Mm-hmm.
found. So I don't think she ever read them. I definitely did,
Mm-hmm.
and they were fantastic. And I moved on to her Anne Rice collection after that.
Which
Yeah,
was
I think Anne
Yeah,
Rice was my
definitely
first
smutty.
too. Yeah, I
Which
think
one?
I think
God, which one was it?
which
it
one?
was, well, I feel
Interview
like
with a
Yeah.
Vampire first.
Interview with a Vampire was my first Anne Rice, and it
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty smutty. It's not full on penetration smut. Like I categorize them differently. I'm like, is this kind of
Mm-hmm.
steamy or is it penetration smut? So I'd have
You
to
have like
get
a
back
pepper
to
scale.
you.
Is it like 1 to 5 peppers?
1 to 5
Yes,
peppers.
1 to 5 peppers. I'm like 5 peppers only. Thank you.
My first one was also an Anne Rice, and I had picked it up at a garage sale for like I think it was like $3 because it was a 3 book set. And I was like, great, like I will totally read this. It's called, and I didn't know Anne Rice's name was different
Oh no.
for the smut that she wrote. So it
Okay.
was The
Oh,
Taming of Sleeping Beauty.
how
And I
old were
got that book.
you?
Where do you want to start?
Oh no, I think I was like 19, 20.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't that young.
Okay.
But when I was already writing spicy scenes for myself for my books ever since I was like, I don't know, 12. I have found some of the spice scenes that I've written when I was 12, and I am just embarrassed because they are so like they are so bad, and oddly I knew what I was talking about without knowing what I was talking about. Like there are parts where the sex seemed like really good, but it was happening up against a palm tree, and I'm like, bitch, that would have just gored
Ouch.
the skin off your back. Like that is not sexy or hot at all. Like do not have sex on the beach. Like you will get sand in places that shouldn't have sand. This was not sexy.
You're
Um
like very practical about your smut now. As a 13-year-old, you're
I'm
like
very
fantasy.
practical. I'm very practical. Like, yeah, this is great. Like this is great. Um, and then when I read I think it's The Claiming of Sleeping Beauty, I was not ready because I had just gotten it from a garage sale. Um, my ex was driving the car, and I had my feet up on the dash. I'm like, let me crack into this book, and ooh, it starts in the first page, like she asleep, and then a paragraph later, there's a dick inside her, and I'm like, what?
Paragraph
Where did
they
this
just
come
go in
from?
immediately.
They just go in. And I bought the books for I think they're in my storage, but I also bought the books and sent them to someone. I can't remember
Me, it
who
was
though.
me. You sent them to
It was
me. So I have those books as well now. Because we were talking about it or
very
something. And you're
cool.
like, I'm going to send these to you. I was like, okay. I haven't read them yet. I'm sorry, but I will at
No,
some point.
yeah, it's a fairly easy read. It's a fairly easy read.
Okay, now
But
I
yeah,
have to read
that's the
them.
one that was my first one. And then the one that I'm like the last one that I read that I really liked was called The Dark Ink Tattoo, which I think at some reason from point we talked about it.
Yeah.
And I love it because it has werewolves and vampires. Their first book was heavy on consent. The second book should come with a trigger warning. The third book was like heavy on consent too, which was great. And they also had a lot of queerness, and not
Yes.
just queerness where it was like two ladies are banging. It was like dudes were doing it. It was great. Like there was groups. Oh god, the sex in it was so good but so long. I feel like the book itself could have been one book, but then you get like these sex scenes that go on for like 15 pages, like 15, 20 pages. It's just great. So I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook was narrated by this really hot sounding guy and this hot sounding girl, like male and female voices. So it was just like, oh my God, this is so good. I was falling asleep to it. And at one point, I had a dream. I fell
Mhm.
asleep to the smut, in my dream, I was working at an office and I couldn't turn my phone down and it kept playing a smut. It was a stress dream. And I kept trying to turn it off, but I was like, maybe I should just smash my phone at this point. But I'm like, I don't have enough money to buy a new phone. And also, I can't get home without my phone because I was working at a temp job. But no one else could hear the smut. And in my ear, it's like, oh, and he slid inside of her so deep. She took him to the hilt. And I'm just like, but yeah. So I still fall asleep to smut. I think it's great, especially when it makes my way into my dreams without being stressful.
Yeah, it's the
It's
stressness is the
relaxing.
problem. Actually,
Hmm.
I need your guys' help. So, um, I had a friend ask me for a recommendation, and she was like, after hearing your episode on kink and stuff, can you give me a recommendation for a good comic or story with a male dom, but like that's not toxic? And I literally blue screened because I don't read stories with male doms, and the ones that do have male doms are gay, and she wanted a straight story, and I'm like, I can't help. Give me a minute.
I mean,
So I came back with some stories that have like dominating men, but like it wasn't kinky. It was just they were dominating in the way that they did stuff, and they were kind of spicy, but not like spicy. I was like, what level of spicy do you want? And she's like, any level, I don't care. I was like, okay. Okay, so I'm asking you guys for help because, yeah, blue screen.
I I legit haven't found any, and that's for a very specific reason I haven't found any, and it's because so much of the kink um that I have read with a straight dynamic has been written mostly by people who aren't really involved in kink,
Mm,
and so they don't have the nuance or the talks about consent and all this other stuff. They're talked about by people who don't like know a lot about them. Like that's how we got the 50 Shades of Grey phenomenon. Um and also the societal expectation of what men should be like in a dom relationship, and
mhm,
also what's prevalent in the actual kink scene when it comes to men and women in a power exchange dynamic where the man is a dominant and the woman is a submissive. So that's the whole cultural thing around finding something that's work. The best consent forward and inclusive kink things that I have read or seen or know that's being created right now have been queer.
yeah.
Like I have not been able to find it. And like part of me is like, I even want to recommend, like, if she wants to see something with a straight couple that's kind of kinky, but not like smutty. I mean, she could watch The Secretary. I still have my issues with The Secretary, and that's not a book. There's probably a book of The Secretary. Is The Secretary a
There's
book?
probably a book of the secretary. I don't know though. Not for sure.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. Google it. But yeah, I almost recommended Love and Leashes because there are some male doms in there, but like one so far, and I'm like 50 chapters in, one like can't even bring it up to his partner that he wants to be a dom, and the other one is completely toxic. So not good
Mm-hmm.
examples. In the main couple, the femme is the dom. So I'm like, I have no good examples.
The
I don't know.
Salacious Players Club is
Salacious
not
Players Club.
terrible.
It's
It's
not terrible. That's a
so
really good
like
endorsement, Erica.
Wait, is that the one they made the movie
I
about?
know I'm bad at this. But I'm sorry.
Is that
They
the one they made the movie about?
Not as far as I know.
Okay, go ahead.
It's by an author named Sarah Kate with a C.
Okay.
And it's focused on a group of basically coworkers who decide they're going to open like a BDSM club.
Mm.
And It's about all their relationships and kind of exploring how they fit into like the whole kink world. And I say it's not terrible because there are definitely some like questionable relationships, but they're not bad people. It's not like, mafia, or it's not like dark romance.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Mafia
It's
can be fun
more,
if we're if we're being
yeah, and
completely
it just,
fair.
yeah, I just feel like if it's some of those non-toxic category, I'm not sure it's entirely, but like I don't know if it's entirely
I think she
non-toxic.
just
Does
meant
it have
like
the
not abusive because a lot of the dynamics can end up being abusive if not
Yeah,
done
okay.
correctly.
Yeah, so I would recommend that to her and, have her look at the, content warnings, but that's a good series that I
Okay.
enjoyed. It's very well written. It has a good big fan following too. And it's definitely not dark, and
So
I
that was the
I wouldn't consider
Salacious
it
Players
abusive.
Club.
Salacious Players Club, yeah.
Okay. She
Mhm.
listens to this, so she'll know.
Hello. I hope you enjoy them.
Hi. Also, supposedly there's a Reddit list for looking for romance novels that don't have abusive males.
Ooh,
Um,
Nice.
yeah, it's on there's one on Reddit, and there's like a stream of people who are like, "Watch this, read this." So yeah.
cool.
There's also, speaking of, disability advocacy, there are quite a few, and not Reddit necessarily, but in some like Facebook romance book groups, people will often ask, I'm looking for books about people with disabilities, with mental health issues,
Mhm.
with, that are representative. Of not the typical like perfect male and perfect female meet and have sex dynamic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And those are really fun to look up too. I've got a favorite author who is, um, she's on the autism spectrum, and all of
Mhm.
her main characters have ADHD or autism. Uh, one is deaf. Another has I can't even remember. These are all like family members. It's like one soccer playing family. I don't know if you guys like the soccer dynamic.
Yeah, that
But
can be fun.
sometimes sometimes it's a family member because they've got like autism in their family, or
Mhm.
they meet someone who has a different ability, and yeah, it's really interesting. I like those too.
That's nice when they're more
Awesome.
diverse with
Yeah,
Thank
their.
they're
you
really
for
cool.
sharing that.
Who's the
Yeah.
author?
So my favorite is Chloe, and I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Lise, maybe something like that. Liese.
Lise. Yeah, that sounds like Lise.
And she's actually
Okay.
in one of like the writing groups that I'm into, and she's seems like a cool person as well. So
Wait,
can't wait to
Erica,
look.
you right?
No, I just pretend. I wish.
Yes, she writes.
I do.
She we
Yeah.
were gonna write
I
that book together. Do you remember?
yeah. And then you know what happened? Like I'm a mom and I don't have like 3 minutes of brain space to think about something and
It's fine.
create. But yeah, I do. I enjoy writing, and I don't write for an audience, just for myself, really. But we have a long history of writing together.
Yes, we do. We used to
Aw.
pass
Creating
around a
art.
notebook back and forth, and create like a line story, like with all of our friends. And I used to also do drawings with everyone, even people who like didn't consider themselves artists, because I love that. I
Mhm.
love everybody drawing together. It makes me so happy. I need to find. God, I hope those notebooks are somewhere in those boxes. If they're not, I'm gonna cry a lot.
Oh, I hope they're there.
I hope they're there too. I hope they didn't get destroyed. Um,
I do want to give a
but
shout out real quick.
yeah.
There's a press called Generous Press. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook. But they are a press dedicated to amplifying the voices of marginalized romance writers.
Ooh.
So, black and brown romance writers, disabled romance writers, queer romance writers, like all those things together they're talking about. And I can't wait to read what they put out, and hopefully I'm able to write for them in the future,
Ooh.
because one of the things I hate whenever you have a fat person in a romance novel is the whole time they're like, I hate myself and I hate my body, but this person loves me, so I have to be okay. And I can't. And the whole thing is about how much they hate themselves, but how
Mm.
someone loves them in spite of that. And I would love to see characters who are considered othered, bodied, um, characters who are like built like me or who have different disabilities and stuff like that, having like nasty, delicious, freaky sex
Yeah.
without those intrusive thoughts, like just enjoying themselves.
Like
So
the
yeah, I wanted to
comic
give
that
a
I
shout
sent
out to
you
Generous
as
Press.
well. Do you remember the comic?
Hmm.
So
Which
that
one?
the one from Iron Circus Comics, the one with the
Oh,
it has the baseball chicks on the front.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There were people with stretch marks in that.
Yes.
And I loved it in different body sides and they were just fucking and the
Yeah.
best sex. Oh my God. I was so
Yeah.
happy for the sex they were having. I was so happy. Like this is so sweet.
So since you're shouting out, I will shout out that brand is Iron Circus Comics, and they often do they have various different smut things, and the smut things are often very queer. Or they have compilations where there are queer couples, and there's a lot of good
Mhm.
representation in there on both body types and like races and queer and other diverse things. So they do like Smut Peddler is one of their main ones, and it's really good. So like
Mhm.
they use all these different artists, and they often do Kickstarters, but Iron Circus Comics, they do like a ton of stuff. And the other one I want to shout out is Northwest Press. And Northwest Press is specifically queer comics. So it's queer creators, and the comics themselves are queer. And
Mhm.
they do have some smut. It is not exclusively smut. Neither of them are. Iron Circus Comics does all kinds of stuff. But one of my favorites is from Northwest Press, and I can't remember the name now, so I have to find it really quick. But it's gorgeous. It's just absolutely gorgeous, and I have the hardcover somewhere.
I had a
No.
copy of the 2014 edition of Smut Peddler.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so good. Like I kickstarted them twice because they have they have at
Yeah.
least two smut peddlers.
Someone gave it to me. Actually, this woman who does comics, and she does some writing and stuff for DC. And we met at an event where we were both doing readings, and somehow we started talking about smut, and she's like, oh my God. And next time I saw her, she was like, here, Smut Peddler. And I was like, okay. And I didn't understand, but then when I got home and read it, I was like, oh, this is great, thank you for this gift.
So Fearful Hunter is the one that I really liked. It's a um because it's got like supernatural elements to it, like specifically mythos and stuff. And it's between two men, and the illustrations are just gorgeous.
Mm,
Um, in the way that it's written. But I very much recommend that one from Northwest Press as well.
thank you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
honestly,
So
we've been good. Yeah, go ahead.
how has smut like changed your life?
Oh,
Has it been life changing? Like, I know for me, smut has made me more adventurous in the bedroom, wherever that bedroom may be. It's also made me not take sex as seriously as I had been taking it. It's made me curious about things. It's like it's been a lot of it's really taught me how to have fun. Smut has really taught me how to have fun and
It
open up in
it can be
multiple ways.
really empowering. you know, going through deciding what you like, what you're into, what you want to try. Um, it really gives you a control over your own sexuality that not everybody has,
Mhm.
either from culturally or from trauma, or you know, just our own you know, inability to talk about sexuality.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's a really good way to get into that, or to kind of develop your own interests. And I think it's great because it's, you know, pornography is easily available, but that's not
Mhm.
the format that everyone likes. You know, not everyone is
Mhm.
comfortable with that, you know, and not everyone is comfortable with the visuals, or you know, the pornography industry, or things like that. So it's, I think it's really cool to have different ways into exploring your sexuality that aren't just either you do it in person or you watch pornography. So
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah, I think it's great. I don't think
Yeah.
there's anything wrong with anybody who likes smut. I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
For me, it actually taught me how to masturbate. And I will explain that a little bit. So, I actually didn't figure out how to masturbate properly until I was 30. And the reason for that is partly a very strict religious background, but also I didn't realize how my own brain worked. So, the reason why I prefer smut in comic form as opposed to book form is actually because of my ADHD. When you have ADHD, there is something called the disappearing orgasm, where you can be going at it and your brain gets distracted and forgets what you're doing and you can't ever get there. And
Oh, friend.
reading a comic and having a visual representation keeps my brain engaged so I can get there. And I did not realize that until I was quite old. Um, but I have taken full advantage since then.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh my god. Okay, that's the sound bite for this episode.
Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. But we're all about truth and being ourselves here, and that is truth, and as something that I both discovered, like I didn't realize that that's what it was until like a year ago, where I
Mhm.
saw somebody, because I've been watching a lot of ADHD content because my brain is broken and I need to like see other people explain to me why that is. And someone mentioned the disappearing orgasm and I'm like, holy shit, that's what it is. And everything made sense, because also like if I'm reading a comic and I'm not into the art or I'm not into the story in some way, it's not going to happen even if there's like tons of sex. So like I have to be very specific in like the style and like what I'm looking at. And
I I said this before and I'll say it again. Your brain is not broken. The system we operate
I
in
know,
is.
I'm sorry. I I say that because like it helps me I guess accept parts of me that I wouldn't normally like.
Ah.
I don't feel bad for knowing like for knowing that like my joints don't work so good, that kind of thing. By saying that and by
Mhm.
making it humorous for me, it makes it less painful. The fact that I'm broken in
I
various
understand.
ways, by joking about it, I can mitigate the actual impact of the situation, if that makes sense.
Okay. I understand.
But I'm not saying there's anything wrong with me. I'm just who I am. I happen to have la- a layered melange of things wrong with me. And all of these things put together make Carta.
I'm so glad you figured that out for yourself. That is amazing.
Yeah, so that's how it changed my life. And it does, like, it keeps my brain limber and allows me to love myself in ways that I probably previously was unable to, because when I was suppressing things that I wanted and things that I like in my head, I thought they were bad in some way. By removing that guilt and allowing myself to just enjoy things, that's changed my
Mhm.
life as well because I don't have to be guilty about enjoying things. Everything's great, everything's normal. Enjoying smut is normal. It's human.
Yay. Mhm.
Humans naturally desire pleasure, and that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus consuming smut via comics and books, I feel is almost more ethical than consuming it via other mediums sometimes because you don't necessarily know where the porn is coming from. So it's a
Mhm.
little like I would never want to view something that someone doesn't want me to view. And with comics, I know for sure that they are no one is being harmed. If that makes sense, does that make sense?
That makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, there are, good and bad things about the whole pornography industry, but
Mhm.
yeah, you don't know how old people are necessarily
Yeah.
when they're acting or, things like that. Like they're just you just can't know everything start to finish and you wouldn't want to accidentally put someone at risk. And not that I'm saying that, necessarily um, consuming pornography is a bad thing. It can be very helpful to people, but,
Yeah.
if you are concerned about things like that, definitely like yeah,
Yeah,
art,
so, like, I'll make sure if
writing.
I do want to look at porn that it's the creator that's posting, not,
Yeah.
like, a scraper or something like that, because I don't know where those came from. I don't know if they, like, had consent for things like for reposting. So it's, easier to do it via comics because I don't have to be as conscientious about consuming it, and I, uh, I prefer that personally.
Mhm. Okay, y'all. I think we're ready for like closing remarks.
Yeah. So
Are
what did you
we?
take
Yeah.
away from today, Erica, since this is your first
Yeah.
time with us?
This yeah, it's,
Or what
so
would you like
interesting,
to
and
leave people with?
thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me on, first of all. And I think, yeah, just being, trying to be ethical consumers, I think is really important. Between the concert and between our discussion on pornography, I think it's really important that, we just focus on making sure that people want us to see their content, that they're getting, reimbursed for their content in the way that is ethical. And if not, we'll make some noise about it. When we find out about
Yeah.
it, let's talk about it. Let's make sure that this doesn't happen again, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. So, anyway, I think that's my final thought there.
I feel like a
What
theme of
about
our
you? That
show
was
in
beautiful.
yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like a theme of our show in general is being conscientious of where the content you consume comes from, who made it, who it's for, because we come back
Mhm.
to that theme a lot, with what we're looking about. My takeaway for today is definitely content warnings, because had I
Mhm.
had that before watching Banana Fish, I would not have been, in the situation I was of being shocked and traumatized after episode 2. I would have been either mentally prepared and been like, "I'm gonna wait until I'm ready to watch this," or I would have skipped it entirely. But I didn't get that.
Mhm.
No one told me. It is not in the description. The first episode is exactly what's on the tin. The second episode is not. So I think having warnings about stuff before you read it can definitely help. And most of the comics I see will warn you in the hashtags, or they will say there are some non-consensual situations in this comic. Read, at your own risk, which is helpful. And again, for me, if it's going to be the main couple, I'm not going to finish that comic. So I'll look into it a little bit more. But it gives me that concept of, if you like the art here, look into this and see what you can see to make sure that this is going to be, safe for your consumption. So I really
Mhm.
appreciate any content or trigger warnings that people put on their work so that I can make a decision depending on the day or how my mental health is that day as to whether I want to consume it or not.
Hmm. I think mine would be experiment.
Hmm.
Like experiment with making charms. Experiment with different like musical genres. Experiment with smut. Like smut gives you a great way to be like, oh, I might like this, I might like that, I might not like this, I might like that. But experimenting helps us create, reinforce, or figure out what our boundaries are. And that would be my thing. Like experiment and have fun. Like
Yes.
have fun. Just have fun. And it's easier to have fun when you have trigger warnings and when you're ethically consuming things.
Yeah.
So yeah, have fun.
It's bringing it all together. Have fun like we had fun together today.
We did. Yay. So that is it for today, Erica. Thank you so much for joining us and being with us today.
Thanks again for having me.
Yeah. Before we sign off, though, what projects are you working on coming up that you might want to plug right now?
Oh gosh, no, I don't. I don't have any projects, not any creative projects that I have. Uh, thank
Let's
you.
see. I have a workshop coming up about circling self, creating a fuck around and find out magical and practical practice, and that's happening June 11th. And I also so next Sunday, and you can get tickets for that at my website, asovereignembodiment.org. And I also have a showing of the film created by Michelle Segura of my play, which is going to be later in the month. And I think that's it for me. Oh, I'll also be doing no, that's July. So that's it for June right now. So
That's
yeah, and
exciting.
that can also be found on my Instagram. All links can be found on my Instagram, which is Mammy
Yes.
is Dead.
I, I was just marking my calendar for the workshop because I signed up for it and I'm forgetful as a person. So I needed to put that down so I would be reminded.
Cool.
Because it's going to be, it's 3 p.m. your time
3
or,
p.m.
yeah.
Pacific
Okay.
time.
So I marked it an hour ahead so that I'd remember to go do it. All right, that sounds good. Well, again, thank you. This was really fun. I had a great time, and we will catch you kitty cats on the flip side next time we see